As a country, in a grip of poverty and a devastating HIV pandemic, causing a declining population with many children left orphaned or abandoned, Swaziland is left desperate for hope. A glimmer of hope stared in a couple, Kevin and Helen Ward, who could no longer walk past the street children without doing something to help. Kevin answered God's call to begin a ministry by reaching out to the least and the most disadvantaged. This was the beginning of Challenge Ministries Swaziland. It was clear that families were desperate for food and could not send their children to school. This led Kevin and Helen to start a soup kitchen ministry to the children who were homeless. They then found a safe haven in 9 stick and mud houses where 45 children who were rescued off the streets were now receiving meals that consisted of donated bins. These stick and mud houses eventually became the Emafini Teen Challenge Men's Center as God's gracious provision made it possible to start a rehabilitation center to free the youth of drug and solvent dependence. The children's homes grew as social welfare was bringing more and more homeless and vulnerable children to the home. It wasn't long until they received a generous gift that allowed them to relocate from their rented facilities and purchased 4 homes. They lived there until they received a donation to purchase a 15-acre farm at Hawane for a new children's home to be built. Hawane's children's homes continued to grow with up to 100 children on the property in homes of 6 to 8 children per house, cared for by a house mother. The list of children needing a home continued to grow, and God again provided a solution. Some of the children from Hawane were moved up to Bulembu to begin the homestay, and today more than 360 children call Bulembu home. God gave Kevin a further vision to reach rural areas in Eswatini through the In-Community by Community Church Plant program. With the church, pastor's home, and preschool on each side, the community is ministered to and the children receive food and education. Today, 28 ICBC sites have been planted with a long-term vision to establish 60 ICBC throughout Eswatini. The ICBC vision was set in motion and Bulembu was growing from strength to strength. The men's program was turning out wonderful young men of tremendous character who became a blessing to their communities. The Women's Center was seeing women restored to their true identity and purpose, yet still God was saying there was more. 9 years after CMS was started, it was time to plant Pottersville Church, which began with a handful of congregation members. Pottersville Church now serves as the administrative head office for Bulembu Ministries, Bulembu Enterprises, Emafini Men's Center, Elusitweni Women's Center, Hawane Children's Homes, and the In-Community by Community project throughout Eswatini.
Hi everyone, my name is Mduduzi Fagotse. I am from a family of 8 siblings. I grew up in quite a difficult situation in terms of accommodation and food because I lost both of my parents when I was 8 years of age, and my other siblings were still young too. We were all still in school, most of us in primary school. So when my father died, shortly, like a year after that, my mom passed away too. So we had none of the caregivers available for us growing up. So we were then taken to different foster homes, each of us being raised by different family members. They looked after us, and life was quite difficult because we were used to being together and we were better together. So the separation between us was kind of like disjointing the bond we have. Years went by, and yes, our food was a struggle. Sometimes we would go to sleep without food, and school became a struggle too, as it was too expensive to educate us because none of our parents were available, and the families we were staying in, they also had kids that were still schooling, so the education bills were high for them. And so one of my sisters, we actually got connection through Mbabane Social Welfare, and they took one of my younger sisters, Tabile, and she was taken to a place called Hawane. That's where she shared mostly about us, the other siblings as well. Then, like 3 months later after that, we're all taken together to this wonderful place called Bulembu. I'm saying it's wonderful because that where we reunited again and we felt like a family. We got enough, we got all the basic needs covered, like shelter, clothing, education, and food. Yeah, so we all sought out in terms of that. So we had no worries about food, and we had no worries about what tomorrow holds. We started dreaming, and we started seeing the light about our future. So I then started attending school. I continued attending school. Completed my school here in Bulembu, which was a huge achievement for me, because I really never thought I would go this far. Like, looking from where I'm from, it's actually a tough situation here in Swaziland. So yeah, I then completed my high school here in Bulembu, and then I went out to do my college in Mbabane, and I studied welding, which was so exciting for me. I love welding and I enjoy it. So currently I've got a certificate in welding, arc and gas welding.